yeah, you, yeah, you. Yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina, yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina, yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina, yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina, yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina, yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina, yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina, yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina, yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina, yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina, yaho, yo. Hatakaspotama ho minti. Hatakaspotama ho minti. Hatakaspotama yakni achok makat.
Lito, my name is Claire Green Young, and I'm Public Arts Manager for the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, as well as former curator at the Choctaw Cultural Center. We're here today viewing the gift sculpture by Brendan O'Neill. You can see the sister sculpture at the National Famine Museum in Strokestown Park, Ireland.
Within the Sharing Lands project, we're most interested in the way in which the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma and the people of Ireland are in conversation, in dialogue with one another, and in many ways are sharing of our cultures and traditions and thinking about moments of echoing, if you like, between the two nations. So even though we don't share land specifically, we are in many ways sharing certain ways of looking at the world, be it the concept of Ima, the gift, or the idea in Ireland of, the 100,000 welcomes and so on. And we're interested in exploring those moments of affinity and conversation, and I suppose in searching out echoes within the two cultures that link us.
Starting in the 1830s, through U.S. federal Indian policy, Choctaw people were removed from our homelands in Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and brought here to Indian Territory. And so those removals started as early as 1830. They went through the 1830s, the 1840s, the 1850s, and then also in the early 1900s. So during this time of removal and these different waves of removal, Choctaw people experienced a huge upset to our society, to our language, to our culture, to all different aspects of life.
We're celebrating the unique, very, very important bond that the Choctaw and the Irish share. So 178 years ago, the Choctaw heard about the potato famine, the blight, and we had just finished coming over from the Trail of Tears ourselves. We had suffered many of the same things that the Irish suffered, including colonization, being pushed out of our homelands, our food being taken, and even though we didn't have anything, we had very, very, very little, we were still suffering, we were still recovering from this trauma. The group of Choctaws came together and they pulled a few pennies here, a little bit there, and they were taking from even their own sustenance that they needed to build things, to buy their own food, but they still gave, and they pulled it together, and they donated $170 to our Irish friends.
And so Choctaw people are just getting set up. It's only been about 10, 15 years after the removal. There's still more people removing in. And so when these talks of this potato famine and of what's going on overseas are happening. You know, they've just experienced this journey. They still have that pain of all of those that were lost. With 15,000 Choctaw people being removed, only 12 to 13,000 arrived. So 2,000 to 3,000 people were lost along the journey. Of those people that were lost were you're very young and you're very old. So literally the next generation and the previous generation. So what you're seeing is that the people that carried a lot of the stories and a lot of the teachings passed away along the trail. And then the generation that those things were supposed to be taught to also passed away. So Choctaw people are still dealing with this pain, and they see it every day. And so when they hear people experiencing that same type of trauma, when there's families that may be related to those people that are still in Ireland that are experiencing that trauma, that have intermarried in, you know, that's a real thing. And so I think that in part is why Choctaw people put their money together for that donation, for that gift. So in 1847, there was a collection that was taken up by these different Choctaw families. And they were given to the Indian agent who was stationed at the Choctaw Agency, which is Scullyville, Oklahoma today. And that gift was given to the Quakers, which is very interesting in and itself, because the way that the Quakers used the money is the money was given to people in Ireland in a way that there weren't any strings attached to that.
The gift of 1847 is a really special moment between Choctaw and Irish people, and a very unexpected moment because only years prior to that, a little over a decade, Choctaw people had walked the Trail of Tears to Indian Territory, or what is now Oklahoma. And so for them to gather these monetary funds for Irish people who were facing the famine, and their own similar destruction at this time was something really insurmountable that I think folks probably weren't anticipating, yet it speaks so clearly to the heart of Choctaw people and to the generosity of our nation.
So my connection to the Choctaw-Irish friendship is very personal because I am both Choctaw and Irish, and Irish on both sides of my family, but predominantly the paternal sides. And there's a very strong likelihood that if the Choctaw had not gathered the $170 to donate during the potato famine, I probably wouldn't be sitting here now. My great-grandmother was a small child on the Trail of Tears, and during the migration, the forced migration to come to new unknown lands, her parents perished. And a family member, according to our family, scooped her up and raised her.
We're very proud to feature Brendan O'Neill's statue, The Gift, in our permanent exhibit here at the Choctaw Cultural Center. It's a great way for us to showcase and share that relationship we have with Ireland and that connection we've shared since 1847. You know, we tell 14,000 years of our history, but that's a really important part of it. And so it's a great way to do that. We're also so proud that, you know, this is something that Brendan wanted to work with our teams on, wanted to make sure was done accurately, and that we had the resources available to make this as authentic as possible. And then of course, now that the sister statue is featured in the National Famine Museum in Ireland, we're so delighted to continue that connection.
When the gift was in the phases of creation, it was really important to both Brendan and his Choctaw Nation advisors that it be as close to accurate as possible. He worked hard to ensure that the dress of the folks who were represented, the tribal members represented, were historically accurate based on what folks may have been wearing at the time of the gift in 1847. Additionally, the ampo, or the eating bowl that the woman is holding, it's based on an actual eating bowl that you would have seen post Trail of Tears, so that means post removal to Indian Territory, or what's today Oklahoma. It's said that in the homelands in Mississippi, Choctaw people had an ampo that was a much larger eating bowl meant for communal usage, and then on the Trail of Tears, when we made it to Indian Territory, this was smaller, and so that's why you'll see the more handheld size ompo in the woman's hand. One of the ways that I really worked with Brendan was to have a friend, Miss Becca Boykin, put my hair in what we would call a banaha bun in Choctaw Nation. So when you are looking at the sculpture, whether at the Cultural Center or the National Famine Museum, you're kind of seeing a rough replica of my own hair. So that was a really cool experience to be able to provide him with a contemporary version of a Choctaw historical hairstyle. I understand that he also really worked a lot on considering symbolism that was used in the sculpture. So you'll see an X and O pattern, which a lot of contemporary Choctaw folks will recognize as stick balls crossed together alongside the toa or the ball. Some also see these symbols to represent an end and beginning. Lots of different meaning behind those for different Choctaw people. The symbolism in the gift is really quite striking and important for Choctaw people especially. So it was wonderful to see Brendan's willingness to incorporate that into the final design, especially the double spiral pattern, which is sometimes called the Sintilapita for Choctaw people. And you'll see this on a lot of our traditional baldric sashes, sometimes incorporated into regalia in different ways, or on our pottery. Also see some other significant symbols that, while may not necessarily be Choctaw in nature, do really speak to the friendship and connection between Choctaw people and Irish people, going all the way back to 1847. And one of those symbols is the waves that you'll see embedded on the ompo. And while that's not a traditional Choctaw pottery pattern, this is something that signifies that connection across the ocean and how these two people have still managed to form such a bond and a relationship through these kind of shared struggles, and especially the gift. Additionally, the hands reaching forward and kind of showcasing that level of friendship and connection, the willingness to help each other, the desire to be present, and to just acknowledge the importance of the gift. It really speaks to the heart of Choctaw people and Irish people. Whenever I think about the sculpture and where we actually placed it physically in the museum here at the Choctaw Cultural Center, we took great care to make sure and place it in an area where you both perceive the hands as leading you toward the future for Choctaw people, but also behind this you can see out to our living village where there's a traditional mound, which you would have seen in our homelands in Mississippi. And this is where we would have been facing the removal from those homes to Indian Territory. And so it's really significant placement of the piece in that area of the museum. And on top of that, I'd love to share a little bit about the actual installation of the piece. It was a pleasure to welcome Brendan O'Neill and his family members into the Choctaw Cultural Center and actually have them present, have the artists be present as we installed the piece. Given their time in Oklahoma, where they were present for the unveiling of the gift at the Choctaw Cultural Center, it seems only fitting that Brendan and his family were also present for the unveiling of the sister sculpture at the National Famine Museum in Strokestown Park.
Abanom paimi Ayali finahon Oklai moyoma.
As I began my journey in the role of Public Arts Manager for Choctaw Nation, one of the projects that I had the opportunity to assist with was kind of the final stages of the Eternal Heart sculpture that was unveiled at Tuskahoma, our Choctaw capital. And we're so grateful to the Choctaw Foundation and the Irish government for co-sponsoring and funding that endeavor. It's a beautiful piece created by Choctaw artist Samuel Stitt, who's also very well known for his traditional regalia and historic clothing making for Choctaw people. But he's a wonderful artist who designed the sculpture, and we're very proud to have it on display for folks to come and visit from far and wide. I think from a public arts perspective, this piece is so important because it's telling not only a national story, but a global story. It's a tribal story and it's an Irish story, and so it's such a unique opportunity to have that in a rural area at our capital, where it is attracting visitors from both the US and Ireland to come and experience that connection and feel it in a tangible way that you can't experience everywhere. So it's a really powerful piece, and with the heart kind of made into the knot, that showcases that lasting friendship and connection that Irish people have, that I've experienced firsthand. And one of the times that I've experienced that is actually at the unveiling of the Eternal Heart sculpture. I worked the event that day, of course, in full regalia. Lots of folks approaching with questions, and there was actually an elderly Irish couple who attended the unveiling and was coming to visit family and made the trip to Oklahoma specifically for the unveiling. So to see what this meant to those people, and then also to Choctaw elders who came, of course, to our annual Labor Day Festival, but specifically to this event, to see the unveiling of the sculpture, to sing our traditional hymns, and to be a part of that event. It was really special. We also had social dancing at the unveiling.
Yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha.
So it was a wonderful experience for me to be able to be, a part of the Eternal Heart process and support that at the end of its development, and then also to actually dance with my community at the unveiling, to hear the artists speak, Chief Batten, other Irish officials. It was an incredible experience.
Yo.
I've also had the pleasure of working with Paul King on a number of occasions, a talented Choctaw artist who created the Forever Friends piece, which pays homage to the Kindred Spirits monument in Middleton County, Cork. And this piece is a stunning representation by a Choctaw person, a Choctaw artist, showcasing what this connection means to them. And I think the title, Forever Friends, speaks really strongly to the lasting bond, the gift of 1847, and what it means to Choctaw people and Irish people today. The way that he captured the light reflecting on the feathers was so reminiscent of the first time I saw Kindred Spirits in person. My heart was just moved by it, and to see the way he had incorporated Choctaw designs, the double spiral or scintillapita pattern, as well as the diamonds representing the eastern back rattlesnake in the background. It's just incredible to see how he's melded, this symbol of Choctaw Irish connection with our traditional motifs, and then it's on kind of a stamp-like border outline, and so it's a part of a greater collection that he has that showcases Choctaw culture, and it was wonderful to see the connection and the gift included in that.
So the fact that that had to cross an entire ocean to go over to a small island, and from our standpoint, of people whom we'd never met, but yet we shared this common ground, this common trauma, this common being displaced and starved. And that started a lifelong friendship. The friendship has basically been kind of resurged in recent decades with Kindred Spirits, with Eternal Heart sculpture here at our Tuscahoma homelands, the gift that we have here at the Cultural Center, and just all of these different things that the Irish have now given back, and not just to us, but to other tribes as well. There has been the Trail of Tears walk with numerous Irish folks helping out with that and joining on that walk. There's been, one of my personal favorite stories is during COVID, the Irish found out that Navajo were really, really suffering, and they donated millions of dollars to help the Navajo. And so it's like this pay it forward, this going back and forth. We have a Chuddas Ireland Scholarship that's been working with the university in Cork And it just keeps going back and forth. So this is just an important relationship.
We're really impressed with just how widespread this story is. You know, for Choctaw people, this is something we know about growing up. You know, we know that in 1847, while we were navigating our own tragedy, our own removal, you know, we felt empathy and we sent money to the Irish people during their potato famine. We're really proud of that, but that's something you grow up knowing, and I'm always really impressed when I travel, when I promote our events, especially when it comes to groups that are affiliated with Irish organizations or people from Ireland. They know the story too, and there is so much gratitude there and so many warm receptions, people who are quick to express how grateful they are for that time period and that generosity from our people. You know, and I've heard stories of colleagues going to Ireland and just being greeted with literal open arms to show appreciation for Choctaw people who gave money during our own tragedy. So it's really important for us to tell that story, and it's really important. We've had a relationship with the Irish people since 1847. You know, we send people to Ireland every year on scholarship. We erected the Eternal Heart statue here in Tuscaloosa after the Kindred Spirit statue was erected for us in Cork, Ireland. So there are so many different interactions that we've had with their people since then that just continues that relationship. So we're very proud to highlight it, and it's definitely a story worth telling.
Yeah, you. Yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile. Ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile. Ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile. Ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile. Ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile. Yo hile, ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile, ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile. Ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile. Ha yo ha, halina yo hile, yo hile, yo hile. Ha yo ha, halina yo.